All right, so why is doing a PhD so difficult? It is not like a regular job in the sense that it is physically demanding, right? There's not a lot of lifting that's involved. You're not like sweating on a regular basis for this stuff that you're doing. So sometimes you do that. If some components of the career, sometimes you might actually do that. Maybe it's in archaeology, for example. You might do that. But for the vast majority of the people that actually do a PhD, they're working in an office, they're writing papers, maybe they're working in a lab, something along those lines, right? So it's not physically demanding in any sort of sense. They're working in a climate-controlled environment, often sitting or standing or whatever, that it's pretty easy in terms of the physical nature of it. It's also socially pretty easy in the sense that you don't have to interact on a regular basis in terms of maybe you're not a manager, for example, that you have to interact on a regular basis with many different people and meet all these different deadlines in the sense that you're constantly meeting a tremendous amount of deadlines on a regular basis. It's not like that at all. And instead, it is more intellectually demanding and emotionally demanding as well. So there's a couple of reasons why that might actually be the case. And I think this is just based on personal experience, right? So the first thing is you're competing on a global scale, right? So the competition is such that you actually compete with other PhDs or researchers around the world. I've got people, or there's sort of colleagues or people that are doing research in similar areas. And, I'm currently in Florida right now, if you didn't know. There's people that are in Korea, that are in the UK, that are in France, that are, you name it, countries all around the world that are people that are doing kind of similar things. And they're all kind of in a little area. And then you have to be competing with those particular people on the global stage. And what makes it a little bit more tricky in terms of the competition is that your wages, so your salaries and stuff, are tied to how much you're actually producing and how much you're actually competing with other people that are in the global stage. It's not like once you get tenure in any sort of way that you just stop doing the thing that you're doing. So you're always competing in the global stage. The other thing is that there's a tremendous amount of transparency. So all of your performance is generally tracked and open to the world, and that actually is a good thing for science, right? Like people want to see what you've written, what you're doing, where you've presented, what are the ideas that you actually have. That's the part of the sort of transparency in science that is actually a really good thing, a positive thing. But in terms of motivation, it makes it very difficult because you often make these social comparison games where you compare with other people around the world that seemingly at similar stages, or maybe they're a little ahead of you, and they are, much further along than you are, and so a lot of people get very frustrated and get emotionally charged about that, right? Like they just get. They just have a lot of sort of bad feelings about it at the end of the day. It's sort of emotional response when they see what other people are doing and you're just not at the same stage. And there is another thing that happens is that there's a tremendous amount of uncertainty or ambiguity, right? So uncertainty meaning you don't know. You might have all of the information at the fingertips on what you should be doing, but you don't know how to put it all together and actually do the next thing and make sense of what is the right alternative to choose that's actually going to provide value for you and for other people by pursuing that particular alternative, right? So you don't know what is the right. Maybe it's working on some sort of theory, or maybe it is some sort of, the research method that you should be doing. You don't really have a clear sense of all of that and what is the best thing going forward, right? So if you combine all those things together, it sort of creates this atmosphere where people find it difficult to be motivated on a regular basis and get up and do the things that they should be doing. Or they get into a stage where they feel like they should be working all the time. This is really, really common, that they should be working all the time, and what leads to burnout, right? Where they are actually working so much that they're working, all day Saturday, Sunday. This happens a lot with PhD students early on, is that they should be working all day Saturday, Sunday, and then as well Monday through Friday. And so you can keep that up for a couple of years. That's totally fine. But then it becomes very difficult to sort of maintain that sort of pace going forward. And so people will get to the point where they'll have burnout, because what ends up happening, they'll reach a stage in their life and they have a lot more sort of things that are going on in their life, unless they maintain sort of the cocoon style, where they are still going in to work and sort of are disconnected from sort of many other parts of their life. And that's, either one of those is fine. I'm not sort of, persuading you in one sort of way, but that's just basically what happens, right? That there's a large component of that happens, and some people can sort of experience that and other people can't. And so you have this sort of the work-life balance thing, right, where you have a lot of tension from obligations in one particular area of your life, and then there's work that is pulling you in that direction. And so you have this sort of state of burnout that is quite possible when you go through and do a PhD. So the emotional component, the difficulty lies with doing a PhD or any sort of doctorate, is the fact that you have to keep going. You're very much like an entrepreneur. And I want you to imagine yourself as an entrepreneur at this moment. So this is the advice that I would give you in terms of dealing with this. Imagine yourself as an entrepreneur, and you get to craft your life, you get to craft your business, you get to craft whatever it is that you want it to be. Except for the thing is, you have to sort of think that you have to make the investment right now so that in the future you can actually get to the point of the life that you actually want. So you have to be very strategic in the things that you choose and strategic on where you actually want to go, if going forward in what you actually want to accomplish in the life that you want. Maybe it's in 5 years or 10 years from now. So you have to think about what it is that you want to do in 5 or 10 years and actually build the life around you to get to that point. So which means not only building the productivity component of it, in terms of building a life around researching and stuff like that, but then also building your actual other life that's around it, right? So everybody has an other life that's around it, and you have to either train the people that are around you and teach them what the experiences are like, or compartmentalize things, right? And so just working through these relationships are a really important thing in terms of you moving forward and dealing and being productive as a PhD. And so you have to think about all of that component and build the infrastructure around you so that you can be successful going forward and not have all of these difficulties that most people actually have. So that's why I want you to think about, how can you build your life, how can you design your life such that you can actually be successful going forward as a PhD, even though we have all of these difficulties that are available to us.